with you, right? So because there's some informative content in the presentation and you can very well utilize this. So let me start. Again, welcome and thank you for taking out time. We will start with the agenda of this call. 62 people have joined in. Okay. So we will start from a very, brief about my profile, what I do, where I come from, right? I'll not talk much about myself. We have more important topics to discuss. Then we have, an introduction about ESG, why we are, in this webinar, why we are discussing about ESG, right? A bit of history, how and from where ESG has come from, right? What led to, uh, the development of this field, the current status from the career point of view, and how future looks like, from career point of view, and also from business point of view. So we'll talk a bit about your job market overview, right? Then we'll move on to a more important section in our webinar, which is the major career areas within ESG, right? So we have ESG reporting, where which is my profile. I come from ESG reporting background, ESG assurance background. Then we have ESG strategy and consulting, then ESG ratings, finance and investment, assurance, and some other profiles, which we are going to discuss in detail, right? Then, I've collated a couple of JDs, job descriptions from, collected from LinkedIn. They are entry level job descriptions, but later after the webinar I can also share more senior level job descriptions, job requirements, skill required, and we can do that analysis, right, in the group. Then skills needed to get a job within ESG. Then what's next? So we'll see what is there in this what's next slide, and then if time permits we'll take some question and answers. Otherwise, also, if there's no time left, then obviously you may have seen in the group from the earlier batch, they've put some questions. I'm working on those questions, and I'll collectively bunch the questions in one category, so category wise, and then I'll answer with some data backed insights as well as other insights. Right. So my name is Arpit Sharma. Some of you may know from LinkedIn. Uh, I am an engineer, right? I graduated in 2010, so have around 12, 12 plus 12.5 years of experience since then. I worked in telecom sector when I started. So for 5 years I worked there, and then I went on to work for Government of India in audit and assurance, and that's where I picked my assurance skills or auditing skills. I started with financial audits and then performance or public policy related audits, and then switched to environmental audits, right? Comptroller and Auditor General of India, they do environmental audits wherein they pick diverse topics, various schemes, various issues faced by the country, by a country, and also from future perspective. And then, I went on to work for public sector undertakings from the government side. We did some assurance, we did some consulting for them, and that's how, slowly but steadily, my work in ESG started in 2000, late 2018, 19. Uh, then I switched on again to the corporate career, and I started with a US based consulting firm where I worked for a brief period. But yes, it was very enriching experience. Got to learn a lot by dealing by connecting with a lot of US based clients, UK based clients, and India based clients. So there's a lot of stakeholder management, stakeholder engagement involved. So overall 6+ years of experience I have in ESG reporting, assurance, and consulting domains. worked with stakeholders in 30 plus countries, right? So there are different teams which sit in different countries, different regions of the world, and they have different cultures. So connecting with them, discuss with them the work and some other stuff, getting to know about their culture is right very interesting. So that's why I mentioned this point specifically. And stakeholder management and engagement in itself, it's the essence of I would say most of the ESG related jobs currently or in the current world. Then to end with, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Most of you may have already connected with me. You can also connect with me on Talkmate if you want any one-to-ones. But let's start with the real stuff with ESG. To start with, the objective of this webinar, the objective is just to create awareness about ESG field, about the career opportunities, about what we really do in ESG, and what does really, ESG really mean from different angles. ESG is a very wide term, it's a very big umbrella, and in it you have different subdomains, different fields are there. ESG reporting, as we just discussed, ESG consulting and all. And the many people, many professionals, as well as, fresh college graduates, masters, PhDs, they want to come into this field because, right, the field is booming. There's a lot of buzz on social media. There are a lot of jobs, and also, there are some from the concerns are there for the climate change, the global warming, right? Social aspects, social concerns, and also governance concerns. So there's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of work being done in this field. So yes, the awareness, then what does future look like, what does present look like, and what are the skills needed to enter this field to make a successful career in this field? What are the career opportunities, right? Because what I have observed is, so, 2 years back, 3 years back, ESG was very different from, what we or how we see it, it's today. Now there are lot of things coming up, lot of different branches opening up in terms of resources, in terms of, say, material. There is a lot of, I would say, there's a bombardment of information which is available on social media, LinkedIn, you call it, or the number of articles which are getting published, a lot of reports are getting published, a lot of things. So with this, the kind of information that we have, it's sometimes a person who want some sort of guidance, who want to enter into the field, who want to know where to start, right? How to start, what to start with, gets confused, right? And the objective is to make it more lean, to make it clear. So, if you're coming from a certain background, if you're coming from a specific background, which is the right direction for you, right? Which is the right, say, what you can study. And we will, when we go to the profiles, specific profiles, then we will get to know more about how the background, how your transferable skills can help you in navigating the correct path for you, right? So this is the objective, to help you guys, to help you people, for if you're looking out for job, if you're looking to progress, you're already working in ESG but you want to progress in your career. So yeah, if I can help you in any way, that would be very good for me. Now, what is ESG? As we all know, it stands for, three terms, made up of three terms: environmental, social, and governance. There are three pillars. These are the three pillars on which this ESG, right, stands, right? So it is both, work as a framework. By framework, I mean reporting framework, essentially, and the compliance. And these are both, interrelated or interconnected terms, or, areas. Now, framework means there are, reporting frameworks like we have GRI, right? Some of you may have already heard about GRI. We have TCFD, then we have ESRS, which has branched out of CSRD. CSRD is a regulation and ESRS is a reporting framework. So CSRD is the compliance part, the regulation, which was passed by European Parliament, and now it's mandatory for companies or organizations based out of European Union. Although there was, some backlash, and then omnibus came, but that's a different issue, and we will separate discuss that separately. But yes, so that's the compliance part, and from compliance, the reporting comes, the frameworks come, and these organizations have to adhere to these these reporting frameworks or be compliant with the regulations. So these are the two things, right? And let's discuss more how, what do I mean by ESG as a framework, right? So the purpose is of a reporting framework, the purpose is to evaluate or to gauge the companies or an organization's ESG related performance, or the performance on in these three areas: environment, social, governance, right? So environment, if we talk about environment, we talk about your greenhouse gas emissions, scope 1, 2, and 3. We talk about energy consumption. We talk about the type of or the kind of energy that the organization is using, the mix of energy, renewable as well as fossil fuels. We talk about water, waste, sustainable packaging, right? So these kind of metrics, or these kind of areas we talk about. Then social, we talk about labor practices. We talk about gender diversity, diversity among employees, the community engagement, community investment. So those sort of areas. And governance, we talk about board structure, independence of the board, board diversity, right? Or the pay of the board members and the senior management. Is it now related with the, or is it aligned with the ESG performance of a company? So we all talk about it. These are areas which can be discussed in detail when we, maybe later in after the webinar, we can have a separate webinar to discuss these things in detail, right? Now, who are the users, right? The stakeholders. So the users are first the organization themselves, because they are reporting, and by reporting, what they're achieving is the transparency in their, in their disclosure. So that they're disclosing on various stuff, greenhouse gas emissions and other metrics. They're aligning with a particular framework, for example GRI. Why I keep naming GRIs, because it's sort of a universal framework, and most of the organizations, big, smaller, medium-sized organizations, they are, in some way they're aligned with GRI. They're reporting in alignment with GRI, right? So the companies, they report their performance, they report their strategies, right? They talk about their strategies, the risk management they talk about the opportunities, the governance, and different things. And with their reporting, the data that they report, the disclosures that they make, are used by these investors. And what do these investors? They're big investors, venture capitalists, the PE funds, mutual funds, investment banks. They make their investment decisions, right? So, for example, pick a sector as an FMCG factor, sector, FMCG sector, and there are five different companies in this sector. So they benchmark, they compare the performance of these five companies. If they want to invest in the sector, they think, based on their research of the industry, based on the other kind of research, they think that FMCG sector is something which can provide us good return on investment. The companies are doing good financially, as well as they're taking a lot of ESG or environmental related initiatives, but which is the best company to invest in, right? So they use this data, and that's where these rating companies come into picture, right? So reporting is done by the company, reporting is published, it's in the public domain. What these rating agencies do is they get the data, they take the data which is already publicly available from the ESG reports, from the annual reports, from the publicly made disclosures, right? And sometimes they connect directly with the companies, with these organizations. So we call this as primary research. And the publicly available data, if they're taking from there, It is secondary, right? So they use these strategies, they come up with a database, they do their modeling, and then they come up with their rating. So sometimes, the rating may be from, on a scale of 100. So 80 out of 100 is better than 75 out of 100, we all know, right? And other way to rate a company or, a sector is, say, one company can be A plus, which is better than A minus, which is in turn better than B minus or B plus, right? So these are the ratings, and these ratings data, other data that is used by investors to make their decisions. We've already talked about the pillars, so we will move forward. We'll talk about ESG as a compliance requirement, right? So there's a growing regulatory pressure, as we just discussed. Now a lot of governments are coming up with their regulations. The shift is clearly visible from voluntary to mandatory, right? When it all started in 2000, GRI was the only big framework or the only framework which existed there. So some companies, they started using the GRI and start because of transparency, and they were the leaders in their sectors. They started the reporting, and it was voluntary, right? The data was not checked by anyone externally, right? So the accuracy could not be ascertained, the completeness could not be ascertained, but at least some companies started publishing, and that data was mostly used by these investors in in the impact investing, we used to call it, or responsible investing, we used to call it. So that was the only purpose, and then it grew from there. Now we have multiple reporting frameworks, and the reporting frameworks for different purposes. For example, GRI, let's say, is for more from transparency angle, so companies are disclosing their data. TCFD talks about your climate related financial disclosures. Okay, so it talks about something else. So it asks you to disclose some other data, your strategy on how you're dealing with these climate related risks, and what is the governance there. Then this something called European Union CSRD regulation, which is by far, in my view, the most, I would say, most complex regulation ever existed. Last year, most of my year was spent in working on CSRD. It's sort of a giant, because it's not just quantitative data, but it also asks you to disclose about a lot of qualitative stuff, which all these big organizations, they faced for the first time these kind of requirements, right? So yes, and it is a mandatory requirement. You have to comply with it if you come under the net of CSRD. So ESRS is a reporting framework under under CSRD. There are different areas. So ESRS 1, which is the guidelines, ESRS 2, which is the general disclosures, then ESRS E1, E2 for environment, right? Then we have S1, S2. This is the naming convention for social, then G1 for governance. So these, and under these standards, say for under E1 climate, there are a lot of disclosure requirements, and you have to disclose on that. So it asks you to disclose about the processes, your strategy, your metrics and your targets, right? Your governance on the data, the cross-cutting standards, all a whole lot of disclosures, 500, 700 disclosures. Now, why I am sort of explaining this or going a bit in detail is, you can logically think, if these kind of requirements are the future, are the already the present, and will be the future, then the resourcing requirements will increase in all the organizations, right? We will need more people, we will need more skilled people, we will need more tools, more investment, and that will drive the growth in the field from jobs or from career perspective, right? If you're working with GRI, then maybe next step can, you can target the CSRD. Okay. So SFDR is there. In India, we have SEBI BRSR, which is mandatory for top 1,000 companies by market cap, which are traded on, National Stock Exchange and Bombay Stock Exchange, Indian Stock Exchange markets, right? So it is also mandatory. With mandate, what is happening is the role of external assurance is also getting more important, right? But we'll talk about it later when we discuss about the directions of the sorry the directions which you can take. Just a moment. Yeah. Okay. So the trend is clear. We are going from voluntary to mandatory. Mandatory means stricter requirements, stricter regulations, right? Which means more skillful people will be needed. But in general, more people will be needed, right? From job point of views. Now, where it all started, I like to very quickly talk about the history of ESG, where it has come from, right? So some people, some experts say that, ESG was coined in 2004 or used for the first time in 2004 in the report called Who Cares Wins. But, I would like to go back in time to 18th and 19th century, where, industrial revolution started in Great Britain, then it spread in the Europe, then it spread towards the US, right, the America, and our economies started shifting from agrarian or based on agriculture to based on industry. So more, what happened was, because the technology was not there, right? It was all manual. So people were needed, right? Professionals were needed, labor was needed, and at that time, uh, the focus was entirely on the production, right? All the companies, all the countries, they wanted to produce more and more, more and more, right, to cater the needs of the growing population, to cater the needs of the industrialization. They wanted to increase their exports, so on and so forth. And in this process, what was happening was the people, they started working in these mills, these factories, but there was no balance. They were working for long hours, right? They were working, there were no facilities, there were no policies. Okay, there was child labor involved. So all these things were happening. And that's where, there was some discontent among the people. And that's where some people, started thinking about how they can improve the lives. And that's a topic in economics and sociology and labor laws. But this is how, it started, and then it flowed. Then in 19th century, world war or sorry 20th, early 20th century, 20th century, World War One, World War Two happened lots. So defense production increased, food production also had to increase. The soldiers were on the war front. And so in the background, in the country, many people, thousands, lakhs of people, they were working long hours, 14 hours, 16 hours, without any facilities, without any, good compensation, good salary, and, all that, right? So those were the issues, those were the challenges. And then what happened? I mean, things started improving because of there was some, discontent, some strikes were happening and all that stuff. But after the completion of, World War Two, when things started settling down, some civil rights movement, they happened. The people came forward. They wanted a sort of work-life balance, lesser working. They wanted to focus more on their families. They wanted some medical facilities, and also on the climate front, right? It affected the climate also. Air pollution increased, right? And water pollution increased, waste started getting accumulated, greenhouse gas emissions increased. So 1960s and 70s was a time when the policies came in the front. Some people started, some institutes started working for the welfare of those labor. And then moving on to 80s, 90s, UNFCCC started so famous Rio Summit or Earth Summit, where serious discussions about climate started. Then protocols came, Kyoto Protocol, Montreal Protocol, other protocols came. Then in 2015, the big movement came, Paris Climate Summit. In 1990s, there were a lot of scams, corporate governance scams, right? Enron was the highlighted scam, from where these SOX level controls came, which are now there, very much there in the financial reporting. But there's another aspect, because we call ESG as non-financial reporting. Now we want SOX level controls in all our ESG reporting. So that's another, big business area, and this is an opportunity for the chartered accountants or other accountants, finance related professionals. Okay, so this is how ESG matured. This is how, but yes, we used the term in 2004. GRI came in, published this first draft requirements and draft in 1999, somewhere in 1999, right? And now the ESG has matured not just in investing, it has become a law, and the regulations have come in many countries, and in rest of the countries also the regulations are in the making. Although there's some backlash from some sections of the government, some corporates, but sooner or later all the regulations will sort of take the shape of mandatory, all the say disclosure requirements, all the guidelines will take the shape of mandatory regulations. And that's when uh, the resourcing will have to be, increased significantly to tackle or to, take care of all those requirements. Now, the future, we have already discussed that we are moving from soft law, which are the guidelines of voluntary, towards the regulation. CSRD is one example. In India, BRSR is one example. Then ISSB is coming up with IFRS S1 and S2. And also global convergence is also happening. By convergence, I mean, so some time back, or so, a few years back, there were a lot of reporting frameworks, right? They were catering to similar sort of requirement. We had IR, we had GRI is already there, and other requirements also. Now there is a convergence, and it looks like to me, and from the reports that I read, from the articles that I read, that ISSB, IFRS will take a center stage. It will, or it is already, working in alignment with GRI, TCFD, and other framework related bodies. In EU, there will be CSRD or some form of CSRD, in future form, because it is delayed for 90% of the companies for now, but in 2 years' time, it will again come. So that will be there. And there will be some country specific regulations. But yes, two or three different regulations will work in tandem. They will cater to different purposes. But yes, all regulations will, have reporting frameworks attached and will require companies to report their data, right? It may happen that ESG, the term ESG may takes another form. We may start calling it by some other name, if not ESG, or we may start using ESG a bit, uh, less number of times, and then sustainability is a good alternate, which is there. Then increased scrutiny means better data and assurance. So that's where, the data is getting more and more accurate. This is the need of the hour. Data is getting more and more complete because of the scrutiny, because of the external assurance, because of the, investors' pressure. Now they want to see and assured data getting published rather than unassured data or just internally verified data. They want that a third party come and assure your data, not just quantitative, but everything that you publish, right? The initiatives that you are taking. You're saying that, we are working, in 5 of our manufacturing units. We have sort of, come up with renewable energy or the solar plants, right? Solar power plants or wind energy. We have started using wind energy, so that has to be assured. So that's a kind of investor pressure that we are facing. Also, as a result of, climate, that Paris climate, you may know that the governments, they signed their NDCs, nationally determined contributions, which was legally binding for all the countries, right? Now, who is doing business in, say, in India? Who is doing business? Who is the largest emitter of these greenhouse gas emissions? Who's the largest polluter of water? This is industry. So government will, sort of tighten the noose, or so as to say, or make stricter regulations for these corporates to adhere, so that they reduce their emissions, so that they take some concrete steps to tackle the water pollution or the waste management kind of things, right? So again, it boils down to the corporates. Okay, then there's some current ESG backlash in the recent future in the US from some sections of the government and some corporate, but it's often political and short-lived and short-term. Um, and things obviously will improve when because the regulations will keep coming in, the newer concepts will keep coming in. On the sustainability, operations, and strategy side, there will be newer technologies that will be there, to work on the ground, right? So that will be there, that will lead to the growth. Now, this slide, it talks about just the job market overview. I will share the slide, I will share the links as well with you. But it essentially, these are very good reports. If you want to read these reports, right, the links are there. They talk about in detail about the job perspective, or which are the growing subfields, subdomains under ESG and sustainability. What is growing? What will drive the business 10 years from now, right? What kind of and these are these reports are backed on very good research by good organizations and institutions. So you can just uh, get your eyes to these reports. You can read these reports. You can also read about 50 sustainability statistics, which you should know in 2025. But yes, it essentially says that the business drivers, a lot of new business drivers, which will which are coming up in the form of newer regulations. And regulations are not just about reporting. Regulations can be about anything, right? There will be regulations regarding carbon taxes, carbon credits, right? Carbon pricing, regional regulations, region specific, country specific regulations will be there on all these topics also, right? And with these regulations, obviously there will be some work on the ground, but there will be reporting, there will be compliance related requirements. And there's another field which is coming up, which is related to the softwares, the solutions, the tools that all these companies, all IT companies, solutioning companies, and consultants are working on. Most of the tools, they cater to these reporting in different forms. So GRI reporting, CSRD reporting, then some tools are related to your carbon footprinting, right? Your greenhouse gas reporting, and then newer tools which are uh, coming up. So some examples, if I may take, Microsoft Sustainability Manager is one tool, which is a complete suite and which takes care of different sort of requirements. Then we have Salesforce tools, Net Zero tools. We have NVZ. There are other tools. Now, if I talk about the different career pathways, which is an important section here. We start with ESG reporting. It is in my opinion, I also come from ESG reporting background predominantly, and it is the biggest driver of in within ESG. Why? Because all the organizations which are, say, publicly traded, all the big organizations are publicly traded, right? Even the medium and smaller organizations, they have to report, right? Now they're coming under net to report, mandatorily, to be compliant with many regulations. And if you see in India, the top 1,000 companies, they are reporting on BRSR, but other companies, smaller than top 1,000, they are also reporting voluntarily, because they know that maybe in a year or so, either the regulation will get stricter and it may include next 1,000 companies, or the company itself will come under top 1,000. And the first scenario is more likely, that it will expand to 2,000 companies, then more companies, right? Then it will say all the companies which are being traded on the stock exchange, they have to comply. Again, the CSRD benchmark may get lower, the threshold may get lower, other regulations will keep coming. So all the companies, all the organizations will have to report in some way or the other, right? So if currently, say, 20,000 or 10,000 organizations are reporting, 5 years from now, it will increase to 50,000 organizations, maybe 40,000, 50,000, because economies will grow, business will grow. Also, the companies which are reporting currently will have to adhere with more compliance, more stricter compliance. So even they will have to recruit, they will have to, increase their team size, and other vacancies or other careers, other jobs are coming from the companies which will have to start their reporting, right? So we need skillful people, people who have more practical skills. That is the need of TR. But yes, the growth is there. Uh, so there are some roles like ESG data analyst, ESG data manager. Then you have roles, more senior roles where, who are handling or who are managing these teams of analysts and associates. Then you have sustainability reporting manager, climate disclosure. So even within reporting, you have different kinds of reporting, right? So there's some data which goes into your ESG report or your annual report. There's CDP reporting, that reporting for these rating agencies is there. So different kinds of reporting are there. Then ESG strategy and consulting. Now, this is a field which will go parallel to ESG reporting and sustainability, right? So the relation is that going forward, companies will have to, report more. They have to make more disclosure. They have to make more accurate disclosures. But to make those disclosures, they have to do something on the ground, right? To comply with Paris, Paris Summit, Paris Agreement, and other country-specific binding targets. If they have to comply with, they have to do things on ground, right? They have to make different sort of strategies, decarbonization strategies using different technologies, water pollution related strategies, biodiversity related strategies. And that's where, strategy and consulting comes in. Because, for example, if we take our FMCG company again, what are they, experts in? They are experts in, say, manufacturing their products. If they're manufacturing soaps and, shampoos and other beauty care products, they this is their primary business, right? Consulting or complying with a new requirement, complying with a new regulation is not their business, although they have internal teams sitting, but they are doing their business as usual kind of work. So they are engaged in reporting, they're engaged in other works. But if something new comes up, what will they do is they will engage with a consultant. So we have Big Four, so we have other boutique consulting firms now. More and more firms are coming in this business, and this is another big business opportunity. This is another big hiring opportunity. So they are already hiring, the currently hiring, but the hiring is expected to increase as the business will grow, right? So there can be different sorts of assignments. ESG reporting related assignments, the different fields. So decarbonization is one area, water management is one area, waste management is one area, sustainability, packaging, procurement, life cycle assessment. So the different areas where you need all these consultants and associates in, right? And this is the line where you need many softer skills also, because these are client facing roles, right? These are not just, you're not just working internally for your own organization, but you're day in and day out, you will be dealing with clients within different sectors. So you need to have business specific knowledge, domain specific knowledge, apart from which you can gain on the job, right? Which you can get on the job, but your communication skills, your problem solving skills. And we have something called a consultant mindset or problem solving mindset, which you can develop, right? Then we have something called ESG rating. So these are the companies like MSCI, S&P Global. Okay, then Bloomberg is also there. Then there are Indian companies called CRISIL, ICRA, Care Ratings. SEBI has recently given them licenses to start the ESG ratings business. So some hiring will come from there. Already jobs in CRISIL, I think they've already started working on this. So there are already some jobs there on LinkedIn, but this is another area. This can be a good starting point because the entry barrier here is low. You will have to deal with mostly with the data, sometimes getting data from publicly available reports and publicly available information sources, maintaining the database and all. So in this process, you will know about data, you will know about the terminology. So it acts as a good starting point. Maybe then after working for 2 to 3 years, you can shift towards ESG reporting, because that's a more growth oriented area, and that's where the most of the jobs will be, will be there. I'm not saying that the jobs in this sector won't be there. This is also a growing area. But yes, if you want to grow your career, right? If you're thinking ESG as a long-term career, then consulting and ESG reporting can be the better, driver, can be the better domains to work in. Then ESG finance and investment, so all this is, happening. All this stuff which we have discussed so far is happening majorly first for the regulators, right? Second, to improve, your performance, to do something good for the climate, do something good for your employees, on the social aspects and governance aspects. So your performance, to tackle your risk. And third is to cater your investors, right? So investors are the big investors I've already mentioned, right? So the companies, they publish their disclosures, rating agencies take their disclosures. Sometimes companies also, upload their data in the platforms, and all the ratings and the performance is benchmarked, performance is compared, and then these investors, they make their investments, right? And this is also very important for, maintaining the sustainability of the company from financial angle, from business angle. Then we have something called ESG assurance, the role of which is, getting increased day by day. We have something called limited assurance and reasonable assurance. We move from limited to reasonable assurance there, right? So with mandatory regulations, the role of assurance will be, more important going forward. It's already very important, but yes, the data has to be assured. If you're publishing something, the data has to be assured, because investors, they want to see the assured data, right? So if a third party, an independent third party, is looking at your data, they're calculating that, doing all the due diligence, it increase the reliability of your data. It increase the, sort of accuracy and completeness in your data, or it makes an investor or other external stakeholders comfortable that your data is, accurate, complete, is good quality data, right? So that is there. So the process mostly involves the assurance of metrics and disclosures, but there will be newer areas, coming in. Also, on sustainability side, on the operation side, there are different kind of assurance which we do as per, ISO standards and other standards, right? So if you are, say, using, you have an energy infrastructure, so energy audits are there, water audits are there, different kind of audits are there. So that is a bit different in nature. But yes, all you're doing is, from audit angle, if you see audit lens, you are investigating if, something which you see, or which is there in public, or which is going to be there in public, is correct or not. So is the governance, right kind of governance in place? So the policies are in place or not? Maturity of ESG data, is the data accurate, backed by evidence or not? Mature processes are there or not? Are there, sufficient controls in the data or not, right? So this is the fifth category. Then sixth category is mostly, again, you can do a lot of content creation. You can write about ESG. There's a lot of companies which are writing good articles about ESG. ESG journalism is also, taking place, is not a thing right now, but going forward it will be there, because with increased disclosures, with increased scrutiny, there will be some legal aspects, right? There are a lot of new aspects which will come up. So the role of communications, the role of, say, investor, ESG investor relations, the data that you're publishing in public domain, you have to be very responsible, at the time of publishing. So, uh, legal aspects will get added in. They've added in. So in case of CSRD, so many complex requirements, so many complex asks that sometimes, we need to connect with our legal team, to get get their opinion if what should we publish. This is a sensitive information. Should we publish this or not? Should we, disclose this or not? So whether you are, say, finance professional, we have discussed CAs, finance, a lot of space for those kind of professionals. Engineers, yes, on the operation side, if especially if you have degree, if you have educational background there, research background, lawyers, a lot of things coming up. Then data scientists, because we are dealing with a lot of data in ESG reporting and compliance, also in assurance. Also, the role of AI will increase. Is a lot of experimentations going on currently on how we can automate certain aspects of reporting, of compliance, on how we see regulations, what is good for us, what is applicable for us. So those kind of automations, those kind of chatbots, or those kind of, I would say, AI agents, that many companies, many big organizations are investing a lot of money and resources in doing this. But I would like to take a separate session on this aspect AI, because this is separately, hold together a different topic to discuss, and we can go deep, and very exciting topic which we can discuss. Now, choosing your ESG pathway, you can think in terms of first your background. You should think in terms of your background, where you're coming from, which is your current field, where you're working currently, right? And with that, you can think of alignment. By alignment, I mean, what are your transferable skills? What are the skills that you've gained? So whether you are, say, a 10-year, working for 10 years, you are a senior professional, or you are a mid-career professional with 4 5 years of experience, or you are a, say, just entry level with 2 or 3 years of experience, you're working in a different sector or in the same sector, or you are a fresh graduate, you're a fresh postgraduate, you've done your master's, or you are a PhD student, you're doing some research, you're working in the government, or you're working in academics. There's something for everyone. It's just that you need to identify your transferable skills, right? And there are certain skills which are universal, which can be leveraged anywhere. It's just that you have to build on your already the skills that you already have. So this is sort of an exercise for all of you, right? You come from a background, you can maybe prepare or a Microsoft Excel worksheet, talk about your background, right? Write about your background, then alignment. What can be your transferable skills? And to do that, what you can do is you can just go through some of the job descriptions which are there on LinkedIn, right? What skills are your matching? So stakeholder engagement and stakeholder management is just your communication skills, how effectively you can communicate, how effectively you can explain, right? Your preferred work environment, right? Some people, they like consulting, some people like to work in industry, doing their internal stuff, internal reporting. Consulting require a different mindset, to connect with different clients each and every day. So every day is a new day with requiring you to connect with different people, different clients. So consulting is different, right? Policy is sort of different. So a lot of policy, public policy related professionals, legal professionals, they have a very good opportunity there. And this area is still not very mature, but it's coming in a big way with the advent of all these regulations. Then tech, so all the IT guys are working in IT. If you want to come in this in ESG space, still, the lot of companies, they're coming up, they have come up, they're building some wonderful products, but they are small. Currently, they are small, they're in the startup stage. But, going forward 5 years down the line, we don't know with the, advent of AI, using AI and other stuff, SaaS models and on what, I mean, the sky is the possibility, sky is the limit, I would say, in the tech sector, when it comes to automating, when it comes to, providing solutions and technology. And at last comes your passion, because your passion can be, I connect with some people, and they say that, I want to work in the field of water management. I want to just so they have good goals in their mind, good objectives. They want to change something, which is good, which is which we all can applaud. But if you want to start in the industry, my suggestion would be that you start, to get an easy entry. You start at a point where you can get an easy entry in the sector, in the system, right? So you want to start, where there are jobs available. And these are the niche areas. So water management, waste, and all these are niche areas. They're suitable for some people, right? Somebody who's a PhD in waste management, somebody who's doing his master's from, say, a very premier institute. He has done a lot of projects. So yes, there are opportunities, limited opportunities, but if your passion lies there, you want to work, you can go there in the social space. Again, you can start working from an NGO or some other, multilateral organizations. But for the other people who want to start in corporates, you can start from ESG reporting or consulting or, assurance kind. And then maybe after 3 years down the line, when you gain enough knowledge, when you gain enough expertise, when enough people know you in the sector, then yes, you can, shift where you want to shift to, right? So you want to work in decarbonization space, you want to work in, newer technology space, you can very well shift there because people know you, people know your capabilities, and it will be easier for you to do that. Now, we'll very quickly go through these job examples. These are entry level, but yes, later on we can also discuss senior level job descriptions because this is the feedback that I received from my earlier session. But yes, we'll just see what skills are there. So as an associate, this is consulting background. You'll work as a part of, team of problem solvers, how to solve, complex business issues, then assist in the collection and analysis of ESG data, right? So these are the data collection skills, collaboration skills again, then preparing reports. So working on the PowerPoint presentation, if you have some experience, that is good, how to create effective PowerPoint presentations. And you can just check on Google. You know there's a framework of creating these PowerPoint presentations where you can create most effective presentations with the problem statement, the solution, and all the information in between. Then engage with clients as a stakeholder engagement skills, right? You will need to work with different teams. HR, finance, corporate secretariat, R&D teams, other teams, leadership, right? Consultants, your external, your assurance providers, and if you're working in a consultant with a consultant, then you need to connect with different clients. So your stakeholder management skills, should be very solid. And by that, what I mean is, we don't want, or the industry doesn't want, very polished skills with, very rich keywords. But what we want is that you should be able to explain the requirements. So you're getting into a call with a purpose, right? So you should be able to explain the purpose, the requirements in a very clear tone, so that the person sitting in opposite to you get understand, okay, this is what he needs from me, this is what I have, this is what I can give, this is when I can give, right? So if you need any data, so the format of data, right? What data do you need? Why do you need it? Because they are doing a different work. They don't know what you're doing. They don't know why you need a certain data. Some data, sometimes is very sensitive data, and you need all that stuff. And by when do you need that data? So the deadline or the timeline stuff. So that kind of communication you should be good with. And yes, we can prepare, or we can, sort of practice how that communication happens later. Now, stay updated with emerging sustainability trends. Yes, you have to do all the reading because you may be, clear by now that it's a very dynamic field. Things are changing very fast. Uh, so ESG today or sustainability today may look very different from, 2 years hence or 2 years in future. Previous experience in course. So the first sentence, previous experience or coursework in sustainability as your related areas is preferred. So this, since this is an entry level role requiring 1 or 2 years of experience, if you have good skills and if you can convince the interviewer, right, that you have those skills, you have the that do it attitude, and you can do it, right? Data analytics, how to communicate with people, you have good stakeholder communication skills, and you can learn on the job, plus some domain knowledge. right? Okay, you know about net zero, you know about greenhouse gases, and you know about how we collect the data, how we consolidate the data, then you can very easily be in, right? So proficiency in Microsoft Office suite and this. And then we have a second job example. Again, it requires strong understanding of ESG principles, knowledge of GRI. So role of reporting frameworks is important, yes, for sure. There are different reporting frameworks, but what you need to study there is, first, see, if we take an example of GRI, what is GRI? And what should I read there? How will I use it? Right? The application of the reporting framework, any reporting framework, right? And you can, very well start reading. You can download the GRI frameworks from its website. It's free. TCFD, it's free. I mean, all these reporting frameworks are free. You can start reading for getting the basic knowledge about it, but you should know how you can apply these frameworks. What is the outcome of these framework? This is what is required, and we can obviously we can going forward we can learn that. Then domain knowledge and skills, ESG reporting frameworks, right? Then greenhouse gas protocol, so corporate standards for scope 1 and 2. Corporate value chain standard is for your scope 3. So reporting frameworks, greenhouse gas protocol, because it talks about a very important separate sub area, which is greenhouse gas accounting, greenhouse gas reporting, which is a major traction, major focus area for all these industries. So yes, you should be aware, and aware not just the protocol, but aware of how to calculate. So the practical stuff, how you do it practically, right? And we can help you in that. Then ESG regulations, you should have awareness of what is coming, right? What can come and how to interpret these regulations. So CSRD has come. How to interpret CSRD, right? How to interpret ESRS, which is the underlying reporting framework. So these are the, in yellow, these are the important, more important points. Then CDP reporting, and with CDP reporting, you have DJSI reporting. There are other areas, but yes, good to have. Some of you may already be working on these points. So yes, I thought I should include. Now, carbon markets is an emerging area. Carbon markets, carbon credits, exchange trading schemes, carbon tax, carbon pricing, upcoming areas. Some companies in India have also started working on carbon credits and carbon tax. But yes, you will see 5 years from now that it is a big area. There will be regulations which will come in, in this area. A lot of regulations will come in this area, right? Not just regionally, but overall, globally. Governments will also have their interference, will engage with the corporates in these areas. And the last point is your end-to-end ESG data reporting process. So since currently this is a big area, this will remain a big area, and this is the gap which I find in trainings which are publicly available. Forget all the trainings which are freely available. They talk about concepts, they talk about theoretical part. They're good in that manner because they're free, and they help you getting an understanding of what ESG is, what are the different areas, what you can, what are the different terminologies, the vocabulary part and the concepts, right? But even in the courses that you do, the very few courses, personally I have not come across any course, but yes, I assume that there may be some courses which talk or teach about the practical aspects of ESG data, ESG reporting process, which require a lot of analysis, a lot of Microsoft Excel and other tools. Then we have some universal skills, transferable skills, stakeholder management skills. I've talked, I think I've talked enough about it, but yes, maybe we can have a separate session going forward, very specific session on only on stakeholder management skills. Very important, and all of us have these skills, right? Whether you are a student, whether you are in research, whether you are in academics, whether you are in a senior position, we all have those skills in some form or the other. It's just that we have to articulate, we have to tailor those skills suiting with the requirement. If you're going in an interview, you should know how to articulate those skills, because those skills is the gap, or where you lack is how you should say that yes, you have those skills and this is one of the requirement in the job. right? This is what we have to fix. Then data analytics, Microsoft Excel is the most important tool. Most of the analysis is done here. Then you have tools like Power BI data visualization. But yes, good to have tools. Power BI is increasing in its importance. But yes, you should start with Excel first. If Power pivot tables and HLOOKUP, VLOOKUP, other formulas, right? Data analytics in Excel, and yes, we can talk about that later as well. Then we have some ESG reporting softwares like Workiva, Envizi, right? There a lot of softwares, Microsoft Sustainability Suite, and these are proprietary softwares, right? But you can play with them if you want. You can get, you can register and get the trial versions of those software. If you want, I can share the links also, and I'm also planning to, provide a training in these tools, because if you know one of these tools, ESG reporting, because now these tools are becoming sort of universal tools. So in ESG, you have reporting, you have other areas, you have sustainability, SBTI targets, you have CDP reporting. So this is sort of, one stop shop or one stop tool, one stop solution for all your ESG needs. And if you have some knowledge, some skills, some awareness about these tools, it adds value, right? Then regulatory awareness, we've already talked about that. Materiality. So for each and every industry, each and every company, the different material topics based on the business that they're doing, based on the impacts that they have on environment, and based on the impact that environment have on their operations. So this is double materiality. Then your communication skills, then your project management skills, because if we start something new, CSRD comes in, we have to know which disclosure requirements are applicable to us, so we will prepare, so we will do the implementation project, and this is all done in the project mode. If you have these skills, I mean, this is going to surely add value. You just need to know how you can sort of articulate and how you can highlight these skills. Then your assurance skills, you may come from a finance background, yes, with some domain knowledge and some, highlighting. You can also leverage these skills. Then sales skills, because a lot of technology companies are coming in with a lot of solutions. So they need people who are experts in ESG or who have knowledge of ESG, different concepts. So somebody, if they're building a carbon footprinting software, right? So if somebody already has a knowledge of carbon footprinting, he can get a job if he's good in communication, if he's good in negotiating, provided, he gets a training, and companies will provide you sort of training on the tool, right? So that you know in and out of the tool and you get going, right? So these are the kind of jobs which are coming up. Then obviously AI skills, we've talked about it. Then training skills, if you have you have trained people, if you know, training also means sometimes leadership, right? If you have trained people, if your role requires talking to people, managing teams, leading teams, then you have some transferable skills, right? So now what you have to think is, what are your transferable skills? And in the same spreadsheet, you can make note of your transferable skills. Next steps, very simple. You have to believe in yourself. It will not happen overnight. Yes, you have to be consistent first, and you have to have perseverance and patience, right? You have to start learning. You have to first identify the gaps. So the gap assessment, gap analysis is another important topic in ESG. But yes, in your skills, you have to identify all these gaps, right? And then work on those. I am there to help if you need any quick help there, right? You identify your transferable skills. You fake it till you make it. Doesn't mean that you fake all your experience. It simply means that you have that experience, you have those skills. It's just that you have not directly worked on that. You may have seen someone working on that. So you need to be good enough to sort of, convincing your interview that, yes, I know this and I can work on this on a very high level. The certifications and practical skills. So certifications, yes, do help. Depends on which stage of your career you are in, right? A particular certification may help you if you have 5 year plus of experience, but the same certification will not help or may not help a starter or a fresh graduate or with 1 year experience, right? But practical skills, I think, are more important, because this is what is going to be asked in your interviews, and this is where the gap is. So you give a very good introduction, then the follow-up question starts. Okay, so have you worked in this? Okay, at what stage? What have you done in this? And that's where the interview tries to gauge whether you've practically, or whether you've really worked on it, or you just have the knowledge of the theoretical knowledge of this. And just one suggestion: if you are enrolling into a paid course, just you can ping me and ask. Don't go for very costly 50,000 plus, 80,000 plus type of courses, right? Start with the different arenas, and I can also post a strategy in our group. Now, to end with it, I will be, just coming up. So I'm currently working on something which is a course, which is your end-to-end reporting process course. And this is not at all theoretical. The theoretical portion will only be 10%, and 90% will be your practical skills. So we will work on, we will try to sort of plug the gap which is existing there. So all the practical stuff, what we do in real world with the real data, what is looks like my day to day life and work, we will replicate that all sort of analysis which we do all the year long as part of our data collection process, as part of our data analysis process, the continuous data improvement. What exercises do we do, what things do we require? Then external assurance engagement, what kind of engagement are looking at, right? What is the role of external assurance? What kind of analysis that they do from their side? How we interact with our stakeholders. So we will kind of do the role play kind of things in our sessions. Then stakeholder use cases. What are the use cases? How do you communicate with these stakeholders? The written communication, the oral communication, right? And also the data consolidation. So you see the data published in the annual report, the ESG report, how we get to that stage, how the data is getting published, what all is happening in the background all the year round. So that will be covered. You will have your homework assignments, kind of a thing, with practical use case exercises, right? And then GHG reporting will be a separate topic, because it is very important. Companies are asking for it, and they want a person to have practical skills, you know who knows how to calculate, who knows how to categorize, who know the sources of data, where the data we're getting, the accounting and the reporting part. And also reporting frameworks solely focused on not on what is what, but on the how part and why part, right? How should we use these reporting frameworks? What are the practical use cases? How should we read it? What are the applications? And along with that, towards the end, we will have our resume building support session and personalized mock interviews. Before you go into your interviews, the suggestions, we'll conduct a mock interview also. There will be other trending topics which will keep on increasing based on the requirements, based on the trends. And there will be one-to-one sessions also involved, apart from group sessions and recording videos in the course. So that is where, so I'm currently working on it. It is in the finalized stages, but I will come up very soon with the update on how the course structure looks like and how the things look like. With that, I complete my presentation. I hope it is useful for you. Let me just stop sharing. And I hope the presentation is useful for you, and we are almost up with the time now. For you, the next step is one exercise that we discussed during the call. Also, what you can do is you can post your questions in the WhatsApp group. I'm already have already started bunching those questions, and will answer those. Will rather prefer answering those in the form of a video, interacting with you, rather than just typing answers to all those questions. So that will be the next step. What I am gonna do is, since we are over with the time, and so we cannot take any questions, but yes, we can conduct a separate session for all the courses. But still, I'll let me just allow the mic for all the attendees. If somebody wants to say something, a quick feedback, if somebody wants to give, you can give before we wrap up.